Good Wednesday evening, everybody. And last I checked, I'm still breathing. Man, it's been a while. But I got a quick story to tell you guys. So, at the end of June, I was going to have my room painted, and nearly took me and everybody else to try and get in here to paint, because we wanted another guy to help us paint, but he never showed up. So we ended up getting my room painted finally last Wednesday, and I put my room back together as of last Saturday, and I can now finally film in here. Guys, my room was a mess, and I really do apologize for not giving you content for like the past 3 to 4 weeks. But I'm back. So, in this video, I'm going to go over basically what I watched and new releases starting with the end of June into this month. And I'll also give you an update of what I'm currently reading physically. And I'm going to do that right now. So physically, I am reading Hearts in Atlantis by Stephen King. And I'm on page 272. I'm still on the first story, Low Men in Yellow Coats. And this story is kind of boring in my opinion. I heard that it had a lot of Dark Tower ties to it, but a lot of it is going over my head. But this is about a boy in 1960s America, and an older man just moved into town and he befriends him. It's kind of like a coming of age story. And his mother doesn't really like him at all. And she went away on business. And we fear that she might have been influenced by low men and yellow coats. I still have no idea what that even means, but I'm finally on that part. So I'm hoping to knock this bad boy out by the weekend. But this isn't a book review. This is 4 new release movies that I want to talk about. So without further ado, I'm going to put this away and give you guys my thoughts on the following 4 movies, if I remember them correctly. So, A Quiet Place, Day One, MaXXXine, and Longlegs. Disclaimer, I haven't seen the 4th movie yet that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to go see that tomorrow. So, I got 3 new release movies to talk about, with the other one to talk about tomorrow. It has been a while since I've done this. But anyway, let's go ahead and finally talk about A Quiet Place, Day One. And ironically, I did see this on Day One. I went to a Thursday night screening, first show. And this was a really, really good movie. So it's basically a prequel setting up A Quiet Place, and stars Lupita Nyong'o as our main character, and she is plagued with some type of cancer, I think, and she just goes into the city to live before she ultimately passes away, which we don't even know if she did in the previous two. But anyway, she just like wants basically a slice of pizza to like remind her of how her life was before she got sick. And then the aliens started coming to Earth. So this movie, I heard, starts off where it like reminds you of the September 11th attacks. It's very eerie on how this whole situation came into fruition. And I definitely did get a lot of that. So this is basically how the world went quiet, because these aliens have like super hyper hearing. They can even like hear like a pin drop and they can just like snatch you away. Now, I never did see the first two Quiet Place movies. I did before watching this one, and I really did enjoy both of them. But I think this one might be my favorite one, because it definitely tells a great origin story while staying in this franchise. So there's not a lot of stakes in here. It's just beginning. But when I watched Quiet Place for the very first time a couple weeks ago, the Abbott family definitely went through a lot of struggle, especially when John Krasinski sacrificed himself. It was heart-wrenching to see that because of all the stuff they went through. And he always loved his family. He just didn't know what to do. So, yeah. The second one kind of had aspects of Day One as well. But you finally saw like how the aliens arrived on Earth on Day One through the Abbott's perspective. But part two continued where A Quiet Place left off, and Emily Blunt and her kids are just on the run to survive. But I really did enjoy this trilogy, but I ultimately wanted to just give you my grade on Day One, and I have to say this is a solid B. So that's, in a nutshell, the Quiet Place franchise. Moving on to MaXXXine. This was my most anticipated horror movie of the year. And it's not my favorite of the X franchise. I'll get into that in a minute. So, MaXXXine is a direct sequel to X. And X is basically a 70s exploitation film that has an adult film crew filming on a farm. So they make their film, but they meet Pearl and Harold, which are two psychos. So they just fight to survive, and MaXXXine is our final girl. I love that movie, and it's one of my favorite horror movies of the 2020s. And Pearl, this is a prequel that features Pearl and how she snapped. Pearl was just insane because all she wanted to do was get off of that farm and live her life and become a movie star. Well, her mother didn't want anything to do with that. So this is when Pearl snaps and she kind of like starts killing everybody she knows or loves. So really, really good origin story. But finally, we're talking about MaXXXine. And of course, Mia Goth is back. And this takes place in like the 80s in Hollywood. And MaXXXine just wants to get out of the porn industry and make herself a horror movie starlet. So she accepts a role in The Puritan, I believe is what it's called. And this also acts as like a murder mystery with kind of like a noir flavor. Everybody was very good in this one, and there's also a backdrop of the Night Stalker in here, which I gotta say I wanted a little bit more, but MaXXXine just like gets into like this plot where there's like possibly a copycat killer of the Night Stalker. And Kevin Bacon is a detective trying to frame her for all this chaos. And Kevin Bacon is what made this movie pretty fun to watch. But I kind of need a rewatch on this. Like I said, it's been like a couple weeks since I watched this for the first time, and I'm trying to remember things, but I'm doing my best here. But I really do enjoy this X trilogy. But my favorite out of the three is probably, and y'all are gonna make fun of me, but my favorite is Pearl. I think this has the most cohesive story. X took a long time to get to like the slasher aspect of it, and MaXXXine was a little bit disappointing. But I really did enjoy all three of these movies as a whole. So with MaXXXine, I will definitely give it like a B. But as for X and Pearl, I would easily give them both an A. So there's that. And the final movie I want to cover in this video is Longlegs. Yeah, I did see that last Friday. And I have things to say. So this is the most hyped up horror movie of the year. And it is also directed by Oz Perkins, which so happens to be Anthony Perkins' son, which is a pretty cool bit of trivia. I mean, Norman Bates himself. But anyway, this is basically pitched as a modern day Silence of the Lambs meets Seven. And all you need to know is that Nick Cage is Longlegs, which is a psychotic serial killer. His motive: to hunt women who has a birthday on the 14th of every month. So, weird premise. And you also have this FBI agent who is on the pursuit of Longlegs' atrocities. And turns out Longlegs has an accomplice with the killings. So, this accomplice delivers dolls to families, and the dolls corrupt the men to kill the family. This movie's so weird to even talk about. But I really did enjoy the atmosphere. It's creepy. And Nick Cage definitely put on a very creepy performance. But this movie was just way too weird for me. I mean, it's definitely artsy. And sometimes that works out for me, sometimes that doesn't. To me, this movie did not work for me. Because it was just off the rails and kind of boring, in my opinion. But the ending is what made this movie what it is. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And I really did enjoy the ending. But the first two parts were kind of like a slog to get through. Especially the second half. I'm like, oh. I dozed off a couple times at this movie. I'm sorry. But the ending just hooked me. But ultimately, I would give Longlegs a C. It's in the middle. It's good, but it's not great, in my opinion. So, that's basically a life update and movies and my massive tome there. So, look forward to more videos coming very soon. I'm going to go see Fly Me to the Moon tomorrow. I'll definitely have a review out for that. And I also recently watched Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rambo 3. So I'll have like a novelization versus movie on those two. And I will also see Twisters on Saturday. So I have a lot of stuff to get caught up on. Just give me time and I will deliver the goods. And also next week, I'm going to give you guys a mini series of Deadpool and Logan, preparing for Deadpool and Wolverine. So stay tuned for that. And at the end of this month, I decided to combine both June and July and give you the wrap-ups and those videos. So you'll definitely get all the books I read in June and July, and the movies I watched in June and July. And I'll also have a book haul, because of course I will. But enough rambling. That's all I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. And it is good to be back. I'll see you guys later. Peace.